Alright battlers, welcome back to a brand new Ferocious Cup video. In this video we're taking a look at a lot of footage that I've accumulated from my practice. These aren't based on any features or anything, these are just practice games, and I play against a few different players in this video as well. This first one being a fellow content creator. I will feature him on the channel very soon. If you want to guess who it is, you can leave a comment down below and let me know. But into the battle here, we do have Donphan facing off against Umbreon. I am still loving Donphan as a flex counter to Umbreon. As you can tell there, the Heavy Slam does about as much as a foul play from another Umbreon would do to it, but it's just enough to take it down. In comes that Alolan Ninetales, and out comes Bibarel. Bibarel is going to charge up to the Surf here. I'm confident that I can KO it with the Surf. I think this is another matchup you have to keep in mind. Oh, barely, almost there. But I think if you bring in that Bibarel and you Water Gun down until the Surf, and then hit the Surf, you can take down a bad IV Alolan Ninetales. So definitely keep that in mind. In comes Alolan Sandslash, and I'm kicking myself for not keeping that Bibarel more healthy because this would be great against it. I do have my Lanoon though, so we do have a solid chance. He's going to fire off double Ice Punch, and I will allow these through because I realize the Powder Snow is not doing much damage to Lanoon at all. So I go here, I overcharge 6 Shadow Claws so that I have another Grass Knot, and I looked at the sims afterwards. If you could tell right there in the moment, I did have a Thunder too. Thunder is actually going to do more damage to Alolan Sandslash, so it would have finished this game, but instead we have to use our Shadow Claw to bring him down. Going to the next battle, I will lead with Bibarel into Nidoqueen, and we have won this lead. This is excellent for us. He does swap, and I open my switch tray. I do go into my safe swap, Lanoon, and here, obviously, all we need to do is land the one Grass Knot. He does hit us with the Aqua Tail, and this is another interesting thing with the water types in the cup. With Bibarel, it takes a certain number of water guns to get to Surf, and then with Vaporeon, it takes a certain number of water guns, but it's going to take less water guns for Vaporeon to get to Aqua Tail. So the timing's a little bit different when you face those water type Pokemon. Make sure you keep that in mind in your own battles and practice. So I do fire off a Grass Knot against Nidoqueen. Against Nidoqueen, Lanoon has to land 2 Grass Knots to KO it. We are going to get off another Grass Knot the last second, which is great, but he's charged up a ton of energy. I'm going to have to burn a shield on whatever move this is, but I do have that excellent counter Bibarel in the back. Expecting the Earthquake here, I will shield, and it is Earthquake that would have KO'd. Out comes Umbreon here, and I'm actually going to overfarm a bit and absorb this attack. I realize at this point that all I need is enough energy to maybe double Surf when that Nidoqueen comes back in. So I'm going to swap into Donphan to absorb the foul play. Fire off a few counters here, and I know that I'm in pretty good shape. A double foul play here would end it for me though, so I do need to get to my charge move. I almost go for the Earthquake, but I chicken out, and I do the Heavy Slam instead. So a couple of counters will bring down the Umbreon, and this is working perfectly for my plan. I do bring in my Bibarel. Luckily, he doesn't have enough energy for a charge move of his own because CMP could have given him that match, but we take game 2 against a mysterious content creator. My next opponent is X Factor. He is an Orlando resident. I was looking to add more Florida players to my friends list because I want to really kind of represent and show the ability of Florida players. He's bringing in a very interesting pick, guys. This is Rhyperior, the first time you've seen it on the channel. It does swap out, though, into Lanoon to face off against my Bibarel. He does actually shield the Hyper Fang, which sets me way back. That is not good for me. Guys, if you are facing off against another normal type with Bibarel and you fire off that Hyper Fang, it's going to put you way behind in energy, so it's a very risky gamble. As you can see here, I'm burning both shields to try to bring down this Lanoon. If this Hyper Fang lands, it would do great damage, and it does. We're actually able to Water Gun him down, so he does still have that shield advantage. In comes the Suicune, and I will swap into Alolan Ninetales. That Rhyperior, the Smackdown is going to hurt pretty badly against Ice-type Ninetales, but the charms are just so OP. I do fire off my Psyshock here against Suicune, attempting to get the shield, and we get it. I'm feeling pretty confident at this point. I do have my other Pokemon in the back. He does use the Hydro Pump to bring down my Ninetales, but he's out of energy, so I bring in my Minun. Sorry, I'm trying to say Minun the right way from now on. A comment on my previous video let me know I was pronouncing it incorrectly. I apologize. Minun. Here we go with the next match, Bibarel versus Suicune. So Suicune is charging up a ton of energy. I think it has enough for a Hydro Pump. He brings in that Rhyperior again, which is super cool. I fire off a Thunderbolt. I think Rhyperior is one of those Pokemon that needs to be powered up pretty high in order to be viable. I think at a low CP like this, it's still very squishy. It's not as dense as something like, obviously, like a Medicham would be, or, you know, even an Azumarill. So, you know, what you would think it would be because of its size and its bulk relative to other Pokemon. But he's going to fire off another charge move here. It is the Surf. Not a huge deal to Bibarel. I'm going to Water Gun him down. I still have those 2 shields, but so does he. In comes Shelgon. So definitely a very unique pick. Shelgon is very interesting. I might do a feature video on it later. I'm not a huge fan because you have so many Charmers running around, and you do have Ice types as well. But with that Dragon Breath, man, as you can tell, it just melts Bibarel. I'm going to protect my Ninetales here from the Flamethrower and charm it down. Shelgon usually runs Flamethrower and Twister, so Twister is a Dragon-type move that's largely unresisted. In comes a Bubble Beam from that Suicune, and obviously when you play these Suicune matchups and you get Bubble Beamed, this match is going to drag on to the end. Expecting the Hydro Pump here, I do shield, but it's just the freaking Bubble Beam again. Again with the Bubble Beam bait. He's going to fire for one more attack. Hydro Pump. Man, Suicune is so tricky. So tricky to play against. Excellent Suicune play from X Factor. Here we go into the next game. I will lead my Alolan Ninetales into Lanoon. I'm going to switch straight open just in case. He's charging a ton of energy. Worried that this might be a dig. I do shield, but it's just the Grass Knot. So kind of a wasted shield there. He's going to continue to charge up a ton of energy. Maybe he is going for the dig this time. I fire off a Discharge and he does get shielded. So I know he's investing in this Lanoon. In comes the attack, and it's just another Grass Knot. He has to be close to a second Grass Knot, though. I think he's purposely over farming. So we fire off a Discharge here, and he does double shield. So both the shields are out of the way, and I am perfectly comfortable allowing Minun to fall. At this point, I have 1 shield advantage. I have an Alolan Ninetales, which is a great asset to have. In comes his Alolan Ninetales, and I swap into Bibarel. Out comes the Shelgon, and I know the Hyper Fang is going to really hurt this. So I do fire off the Hyper Fang here, and it brings it pretty low. That Shelgon is still so bulky. I do want to save my shield for the Ninetales in the back, because I do have that charge energy. I bring in the Ninetales and charm down the Shelgon. Now, this might be a mistake, but I do fire off the Ice Beam against the opposing Alolan Ninetales. Not very effective damage. This game is going to come very close. We're probably 1 charm away from losing, but we pull it out. My next opponent is 6'7" Kevin. He hails from the Chicago area. 6'7" is an awesome opponent. We do catch him really, really well on this lead, though. Umbreon and Ninetales is just bad news bears. In comes that Lairon, and here I love Donphan again. The counters are just going to work down this Rock Steel type Lairon very quickly. The Rock Slide is resisted as well, which is great. I've got a ton of energy, so I do go for the Heavy Slam here against the Bibarel. It does go shielded, which is great for me. And again, the counters work down probably a third of that Bibarel's health. Out comes my Minun, and I'm going to shield this attack, expecting the Hyper Fang, and it was. This Bibarel is going to pull out all the stops to try to bring down Minun. So I do go here for the Discharge against it, and it does get shielded. So he's investing in the Bibarel. He really wants to land a Hyper Fang, and I'm not going to allow it. That one actually was the Surf, and then he bails out into that Umbreon. But again, he switch-locked himself, and I bring out my Alolan Ninetales. These last resorts are going to hurt, but Alolan Ninetales is able to, especially with an Ice Beam in its back pocket with no shields, it's able to bring down this Umbreon. So out comes at Bibarel again, and it's so weak that 3 charms will do it in, and we take that game. Going to the next game, I lead Donphan into Lairon, so I catch him in the lead again, and this Lairon is just taking a beating from the counters. I'm not going to shield whatever this is, because I know Lairon doesn't have access to Earthquake. It was a Body Slam. Out comes Bibarel, a little late on the switch there from me, but I bring in my Minun against the Bibarel. He's going to go for the Hyper Fang again, and I'm not going to allow it, just like last time. Here we go with the Discharge. I know if this lands, it will KO, but he decides to shield. This tells me that he wants to land another Hyper Fang on Minun, so I'm going to shield again, but it's just Surf again, so playing the matchup very similar to how we played it the first time. I will fire off the Discharge here, and it does get double shielded, but luckily Minun is so spammy, I'm actually able to get to a 3rd Discharge. And again, guys, I think the question of whether or not Minun is worth it is yes. Look at this, another Discharge. There is no other electric type in this cup that has the bulk and can pull off these close wins like Minun can. If you watch my Sunny Chi stress testing video, you see a lot of times where Minun pulls it out with the Discharge at the last second. It's just such a great asset. Here comes Donphan with the Quake and the counters to win that game. In the final battle of the video battlers, we do lead that Piloswine into the Umbreon. I know Piloswine is ranked very high on PvPoke, and I was trying to figure out why. I've done some early testing, guys, and I found it to be extremely spammy, very bulky. It does need to watch out for the water and grass types, obviously. Well, I say grass types. It's really just Power Whip from Lickitung and Grass Knot from Lanoon, but it does need to watch out for those water types in particular. We are actually going to face off against this Umbreon. Guys, check this out. He goes straight Last Resort. I'm going to go straight Avalanche with Powdered Snow as my fast move, and we're actually going to almost bring down that Umbreon. If that would have landed, we would have won. I say, you know what? Let's just invest in the Piloswine, see what it does. We actually give it our second shield, and Powder Snow is so fast to charge. We get to that Avalanche, and we win the lead against Umbreon in the 2v2 shield matchup, which is just insane. I mean, not a lot of Pokemon can do that aren't fairy types. In comes Lanoon, and I do make the swap here. I do have a ton of energy with Piloswine, so I might use that later on in the match. He does land the Dig, and I don't think Dig was that much more effective than the Grass Knot, and it does have a higher energy cost, so in the Lanoon mirror, I think Grass Knot is still the way to go. He does get to a second move here, and I allow it through. It is going to be that Grass Knot, and we barely survive, almost getting to that Grass Knot, but we don't quite get there. Out comes Piloswine, and there we encounter a bunch of lag, guys, but I feel like I might have been able to get off the Avalanche, but it doesn't work out for us. In comes that Lanoon, and my plan is starting to collapse. That Grass Knot is going to hurt really badly. Out comes his Bibarel, and I know he's won this game. I want to thank all of my scrimmage partners for all the practice. I know I've been hounding you for games, but it has helped so much. Guys, if you enjoy this content, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you so much. And stay ferocious.